My girlfriend broke up with me last week, but she still expects me to give her a ride home for Thanksgiving. I never thought the craziest moment of my breakup would come a week later, standing in my kitchen, phone buzzing in my hand, while my ex girlfriend coolly told me she still expected me to drive her home for Thanksgiving. Yes, you read that right. We broke up. She ended things. She told me she needed space and that our relationship was going nowhere. I was still reeling, trying to keep my head above water when she texted me a casual, almost cheerful, "Hey, so you're still good to drive me home for Thanksgiving next week, right?" I swear, I had to read that message 10 times just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. My hands were literally shaking with anger and disbelief. I stared at the words like they were written in some alien language. My first instinct was to laugh, but the longer I thought about it, the more a sick feeling rose in my stomach. She wasn't joking. She genuinely expected me to pick her up, spend hours in a car together, drop her off at her parents' house like nothing had happened. And that's when the real twist came. When I told her no, flat out no, she didn't just argue, she threatened me. "If you don't drive me, I'll tell my family you broke up with me right before Thanksgiving. Do you really want them all hating you forever?" That message made my blood run cold because I knew her family. They loved me. They trusted me. They had already bought gifts for me, already made space for me at the table. If she spun it like I was the villain who ditched her, they'd cut me out of their lives instantly. And as much as I wanted to scream at her for manipulating me, some part of me was terrified of losing that bond. But that wasn't even the worst part. The very next text she sent made my stomach drop so hard, I nearly dropped my phone. Her reply came at almost midnight, when I had already convinced myself she wasn't going to answer at all. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, and the screen lit up with her name. Don't play dumb. You know what I'm talking about. I sat up so fast I nearly knocked over the lamp. My hands were sweating as I typed back, "No, I don't. What are you talking about?" The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, her message landed. "Do you really want me to tell my parents about the messages I found on your phone?" I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Messages? I scrolled through my phone in a panic. What was she talking about? The only texts I had were from friends, coworkers, and her. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't flirted. There was nothing incriminating. But the way she phrased it, it sounded like she had proof. Screenshots? Taken things out of context? The thought of her telling her parents, of them believing I had betrayed her daughter, made me feel physically sick. But then the real kicker came. "If you drive me home for Thanksgiving, I'll keep it between us. If not, I'll let them see everything." Everything. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just her asking for a favor anymore. This was blackmail. And she wasn't going to stop. I wanted to call her bluff, to tell her to go to hell. But the truth is, I didn't know what cards she was holding. What if she had something? What if she twisted my innocent conversations with coworkers into evidence? The worst part, her parents would believe her. Always. No questions asked. I tried to sleep that night, but my mind kept replaying her words over and over. By the morning, I felt like I was already trapped. And then, just as I was about to text her and agree, another message came through that flipped the whole situation on its head. "By the way, don't even think about telling anyone what I said. If you do, I'll tell them everything tonight." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about Thanksgiving anymore. This was about control. And she wasn't going to stop.
I didn't think it could get worse. But it did. The morning after her thread, I woke up to a new notification. Not a text from her this time, but a group chat with her parents and siblings. She had added me into the family thread, like she was dangling me over a pit, ready to drop me in. No message, just silence. I stared at the screen, heart racing, waiting for the bomb to go off. When I texted her privately asking what she was doing, she only sent back a smiley face. A smiley face. That little yellow circle felt like a knife in my chest. By afternoon, she finally messaged me. "They're expecting us on Wednesday. Pick me up at 10. Not can you, not would you, just an order." I wanted to say no. God, I wanted to say no. But the way she dragged me into her family chat, the way she was already staging me like a prop, it terrified me. She had me cornered, and she knew it. Still, a small part of me thought, maybe if I just get through this one trip, it'll be over. Maybe she'll drop the act, let me go, and move on. But that night, I learned how wrong I was. I went out for a drink with a buddy hoping to get my mind off things, when I felt my phone buzz. It was her again. This time she sent me a picture of me, taken from outside my apartment window. My blood ran cold. I looked around the bar, out the windows, scanning for anyone watching me. Then another message landed. "Don't forget, I see everything." I nearly dropped my phone. My friends asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't even explain it. How could I? How do you tell someone that your ex, who broke up with you, who is now blackmailing you into giving her a Thanksgiving ride, is also watching you from outside your own apartment? That night I locked every door, every window, but sleep was impossible. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow against the wall made me think she was out there, still watching. By the next morning I realized this wasn't about Thanksgiving or even her parents anymore. She wanted to control me, to break me. And just when I thought it couldn't get any darker, she called me. I answered with shaking hands, and her voice was calm, almost sweet. If you don't pick me up Wednesday, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. And trust me, I have more than just messages. I tried to ask what she meant, but she hung up before I could. The silence after that call was worse than her words. Because if she had more, what the hell else was she holding over me? Wednesday came like a ticking clock counting down to disaster. My stomach was in knots the whole night before, and by the time morning broke, I'd barely slept an hour. At 9:55 a.m., I pulled up to her apartment complex. My hands were tight on the steering wheel, every part of me screaming to just drive away. But then I saw her. She stepped outside, suitcase in hand, wearing a soft smile like nothing was wrong, like we weren't broken up, like she hadn't spent the past week blackmailing me. Right on time, she said, sliding into the passenger seat as if she still belonged there. The drive started off in silence. Every mile felt heavier. I kept my eyes on the road, but I could feel her staring at me, calm, collected, as if she was waiting for me to crack. Finally, I asked, "What exactly do you plan to tell them? About the messages? About me?" She didn't answer right away. She just leaned back, pulled out her phone, and smirked. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "I don't have to tell them anything. You will." I whipped my head toward her, confused, but she just smiled wider. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She tilted her phone and I saw it. Screenshots, dozens of them, but not real ones. They were doctored, Photoshop texts that made it look like I'd been cheating, lying, even sending disgusting things to people I didn't know. Fake, all of it. And she had them saved, neatly organized, ready to show anyone. My hands tightened on the steering wheel so hard they ached. I felt like I was going to be sick. We drove in silence after that, but I couldn't stop shaking. The longer we were on the road, the clearer it became. This wasn't about Thanksgiving at all. This was about total control. As we got closer to her parents' house, she suddenly reached over, placed her hand on my arm, and whispered, "If you want me to delete these, if you want this to go away, then you're going to do exactly what I say when we get there." My chest tightened. What is that supposed to mean? She smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "You'll see." And that was the moment I realized this ride home was just the beginning. The closer we got to her parents' house, the heavier the air in the car felt. I could barely breathe, like every mile was pulling me deeper into a trap. When we finally pulled into the driveway, her parents were already outside waiting. They waved, smiling, like nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream at them. "Don't you see what she's doing?" But all I could do was force a smile and step out of the car. She walked up to them, hugged her mom, kissed her dad's cheek, and introduced me like we were still together, like nothing had ever changed. I stood there, stunned, my stomach twisting. And then she turned to me, her hand still holding her dad's arm, and said the words that made everything click into place. "Go ahead, tell them what you did." Her dad's smile faded instantly. He looked at me, confused, waiting. Her mom frowned, glancing between us. I don't know what you mean," I stammered. But she wasn't looking at me. She was already unlocking her phone, pulling up the fake screenshots. My heart started pounding. I lunged forward and grabbed her wrist before she could show them, desperate. "What are you doing?" I hissed. Her eyes lit up. That was the moment she had been waiting for. She yanked her arm away and gasped dramatically. "See?" she said, her voice breaking, tears filling her eyes on command. "He's trying to stop me from telling you the truth." Her parents' faces hardened. Her mom rushed to her side. Her dad squared his shoulders and glared at me like I had just confessed. I tried to explain, my words tumbling out, desperate. But the more I spoke, the guiltier I sounded. My voice cracked, my hands shook, and her crocodile tears only got worse. Finally, her dad's voice cut through everything like a blade. "You need to leave, now." My chest caved in. I looked at her, still clinging to her mom, still shaking with fake sobs, and still smirking just enough that only I could see. I turned, stumbled back to the car, and sat there gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. I could hear them comforting her inside. Their voices muffled, but clear enough for me. She had won. But as I sat there, staring at the front door, I realized something. This wasn't just about her getting a ride home. This wasn't even about Thanksgiving. This was her way of making sure I could never walk away without paying a price. And then, just before I started the engine, my phone buzzed. A new message from her. "Drive safe. Don't forget, I still have copies." 2 nights later, I was back in my apartment trying to convince myself it was over. I'd cut contact, blocked her number, and shut every blind. But then an email came through. No subject line, no sender name I recognized. Just one attachment. I clicked it. It was a folder, full of the fake screenshots she'd made, but mixed in with them were real pictures. Photos of me sleeping. Photos of me inside my own apartment. Photos I had never taken. And the last one made my blood run cold. It was a picture of me at that exact moment, sitting at my desk, staring at my computer screen. The email had only 2 words under the attachment. Still watching.